देवियों और सज्जनों, भाइयों और बहनों, नमस्कार। आज की शुभ संध्या पर मैं युकेश कुमार बत्रा राजदूतावास में आप सबका हार्दिक स्वागत करता हूं। भारतीय कला प्रदर्शन श्रृंखला के क्रम में हम एक और सांस्कृतिक कार्यक्रम आपके समक्ष लेकर आए हैं, जिसका विषय है उत्कृष्टता रस, नृत्य कला तथा अध्यात्म के माध्यम से अन्वेषण। कार्यक्रम 2 भागों में है, जिसमें पहले एक वार्ता है स्वामी चिदब्रह्मानंद जी के द्वारा और फिर उसके बाद एक नृत्य प्रदर्शन है। वार्ता का प्रतिपाद्य विषय यह है कि वैदिक शिक्षा तथा विचार और दार्शनिकता एक अक्षुण्ण परंपरा के रूप में भारतीय संगीत, कला तथा नृत्य जैसे अन्य क्षेत्रों में अभिव्यक्त और विकिरित होती रही है। और इस प्रतिपाद्य की पुष्टि होगी कार्यक्रम के दूसरे भाग में, जो एक सुमधुर और मोहक ओडिसी नृत्य प्रस्तुति के साथ हमें दर्शाया जाएगा, जिसे हमारे समक्ष ला रही हैं सुश्री श्रेयशी दे तथा उनके सहयोगी कलाकार। Ladies and gentlemen, hello, good evening and a warm welcome. I am Yukesh Kumar Batra and it is our pleasure today to have you all at the embassy this evening as our distinguished guests. Today, in continuation of our Performing India series of cultural events, we present a program titled The Rasa of Transcendence, Explorations Through Dance, Art and Spirituality. Our program today is in 2 parts and seeks to explore connections between ancient Vedantic thought and the arts. It features a talk by Swami Chidbrahmananda of Vedanta Center of Greater Washington, D.C. and a new Odissi dance work by Sreyashi Dey. हम जल्दी ही अपने कलाकारों से रूबरू होते हैं, पर इस सबसे पहले मैं गुजारिश करना चाहूँगा प्रथम सचिव श्री सतीश सीवन जी से कि वे आज की प्रस्तुति के विषय में कुछ शब्द कहें। आप सबसे मेरा आग्रह है कि कृपया कार्यक्रम के दौरान अपना मोबाइल फ़ोन बंद रखें। I will shortly introduce you to our performers today. However, before that, I invite First Secretary Satish Sivan for his welcome remarks. And for an introduction to today's presentation, please keep your mobile phones in silent mode during the program. Thank you.
That Hindi would be difficult for me to emulate. So I have to do a lot of catching up. I welcome you all to the embassy. You would have been familiar with Mr. Dharan. He has left for greener pastures, I should say. So you are left with an alternative which is not so exciting. That's me. And I will try to keep up to the standards that have been maintained in this embassy in terms of the program and in terms of the content that was delivered. And this is my first event, and I'm happy to have a great team and to start with such a wonderful program today. I'm equally excited as you are today evening to experience this. The evening is called the Rasa of Transcendence, Explorations Through Dance, Art and Spirituality. For me, a layman, I've always believed that art in any form, whether it be music, whether it be dance, is a great way to spirituality. And if you see a performer, a person who's dancing or who's singing, when they are in the middle of their act, they are in one of the highest forms of yoga. They are in a sadhana. And you can see it, you can feel it from the way they express. And that for me is something unique and profound. But to take us through this, we have the pleasure of having Swami Chidbrahmananda. I welcome you to the embassy, who is from the Vedantic Center of Greater Washington, D.C. His knowledge of Indian culture and spirituality is something which I can't match up to. I welcome him to the embassy. And I also have the pleasure of welcoming Ms. Sreyashi Dey and her group. We are honored to have you here. And in the introduction, it was said that you are one of the foremost exponents of Odissi in US. I wouldn't restrict you to US. I understand that you are one of the foremost exponents anywhere in the world. We are privileged to have you here. Thank you for joining us. And I'm happy to see all of you here. We are very grateful for the consistent support that you have been giving to the cultural events in the embassy. And I look forward to this support over the next year or so when I expect to be here. At least I could hear some Chinese voices behind me. I had served in Beijing, so I was very happy that Chinese friends are with us. A special welcome to you. And without taking much of anybody's time, I welcome you all, and let's enjoy the evening. Thank you.
कार्यक्रम के प्रारंभ में आइए मैं आपसे हमारे आज के श्रद्धेय वक्ता तथा कलाकारों से परिचय करा देता हूँ। स्वामी चिदब्रह्मानंद जी पिछले 20 वर्षों से वेदांत के अध्ययन में रत हैं। श्री रामकृष्ण, श्री शारदा देवी तथा स्वामी विवेकानंद जी की शिक्षा से अवगत होने के बाद आप रामकृष्ण मठ में एक सन्यासी बने। इसके उपरांत आपने 15 साल सैन फ्रांसिस्को मठ के वरिष्ठ सन्यासी स्वामी प्रबुद्धानंद के संरक्षण में बिताए। सन 2012 में संस्था ने इन्हें हॉलीवुड भेजा और वहां से स्थानांतरित होकर स्वामी जी वाशिंगटन डीसी के वेदांत केंद्र में सेवारत हैं। आप आजकल एक शुल्क रहित चिकित्सालय का संचालन करते हैं और आध्यात्मिक विकास हेतु देश भर में देशाटन करते हैं। इट इज़ माई प्लेजर टुडे टू इंट्रोड्यूस our honorable speaker and the artist to you one by one. Swami Chidbrahmananda has been studying the Vedanta for nearly 20 years. He joined the Ramakrishna order of monks in 1999 after being introduced to the teachings of Sri Ramakrishna, Holy Mother Sri Sarda Devi and Swami Vivekananda in Kolkata, India. He spent the following 15 years under the tutelage of Swami Prabhuddhanand, a senior monk of the order leading the San Francisco monastery. In 2012, he was asked to help with the work in Hollywood and was sent from there to serve at the Vedanta Center of Greater Washington, D.C. His current work involves a new free medical clinic at the Vedanta Center and traveling around the country to support spiritual development. Thank you so much, sir. Sreyashi Dey, अमेरिका में श्रेयसी दे अमेरिका में ओडिसी की अग्रतम नृत्यांगनाओं में से एक हैं। श्रेयसी दे जी ने गुरु गंगाधर प्रधान जी से शिक्षा पाई है। एक विचारवान कलाकार होने के नाते वे निरंतर अपने सृजनात्मक क्षितिजों का विस्तार करती है। उन्होंने विश्व में अनेक जगह अपने नृत्य का प्रदर्शन किया है। इनका प्रदर्शन भारत तथा अमेरिका में कला समीक्षकों द्वारा बराबर सराहा जाता रहा है। श्रेयसी दे को अनेकानेक पुरस्कारों से सम्मानित किया गया है। इन्हें अर्थशास्त्र तथा व्यवसाय में स्नातकोत्तर की शिक्षा की उपाधि प्राप्त है। Sreyashi Dey is one of the foremost exponents of Odissi in the US. She is a disciple of Guru Gangadhar Pradhan. Sreyashi was also an exponent of Bharatnatyam. As a thoughtful artist, she constantly expands her creative horizons with new choreographies and collaborations across artistic genres. She regularly tours the US and has performed all over the world. Her work has been critically acclaimed by well-known critics in leading newspapers and magazines in India and in the US. Sreyashi's educational background includes an MS in economics and an MBA. सुदीप्त दत्त एक उत्कृष्ट नृत्यांगना है। सुप्रदीप्त दत्त एक उत्कृष्ट नृत्यांगना है जिनमें नृत्य कला की बड़ी ही स्वाभाविक योग्यता है। इन्होंने भरतनाट्यम तथा ओडिसी दोनों ही नृत्य कलाओं में प्रशिक्षण पाया है। इन्होंने भारत और अमेरिका में विभिन्न समारोहों में अपनी कला का प्रदर्शन किया है। वह भारत के राष्ट्रीय तथा राष्ट्रीय टेलीविजन नेटवर्क की नियमित कलाकार हैं। अनन्यकार की ओडिसी नृत्य की लंबी यात्रा का आरंभ श्रेयसी दे के संरक्षण में मिशिगन में हुआ। इन्होंने अपना मंच प्रवेश भुवनेश्वर में समाप्त किया, जिसे जाने माने नर्तकों, गुरुओं तथा श्रेष्ठ प्रतिपादकों द्वारा सराहा गया था। हम शुरुआत करते हैं हमारे आज के कार्यक्रम की स्वामी चिदब्रह्मानंद जी की वार्ता से। वार्ता के पश्चात स्वामी जी श्रोताओं द्वारा पूछे गए केवल 2 प्रश्नों के उत्तर देंगे। प्रश्नोत्तर के बाद श्रेयसी दे अपनी मंडली के साथ ओडिसी नृत्य प्रस्तुत करेंगे। We start to this program with a talk by Swami Chidbrahmananda ji. After the talk, he will answer up to a maximum of 2 questions from the audience. Constraint of time. The Q&A session will be followed by the dance by Sreyashi Dey and her troupe. Thank you.
Namaste, good evening, everyone. I was invited to speak here at the embassy, and naturally had to accept such an honor and such a wonderful opportunity to begin to repay a debt that I owe to India for giving me a philosophy that allowed me to spend my life learning to respect everyone, that saw the world as a unity where divinity was within every person, showing me a religion or a philosophy that wasn't bent on telling me how it is as much as it was bent on giving me the tools to find out and to explore and to discover what it is and to find those truths. So I'm here in that way tonight, I guess, more a sharing of those things, an opening of the heart, and hopefully sharing a space where a lot of love can be experienced, a lot of encouragement can be experienced. I'm not a guru. I see myself as a cheerleader, really. More just encouraging people to be alive and to experience life and to see God everywhere and to poke into that and find out about its nature and to just enrich your own life, enrich the lives of the people around us. I'm a big devotee of Sri Ramakrishna and his main disciple, Swami Vivekananda, whose picture I'm very happy to see on the wall back there. When I walked in, I was feeling very intimidated at first, in such a beautiful building and, so many officials walking around. I was sitting there kind of alone because I was quite early thinking, oh, what have I gotten myself into here? And then to look up and find Swamiji's picture on the wall was quite comforting, quite beautiful. We serve a master in Ramakrishna who was very much in the arts. Actually, in Calcutta, if you go into a theater, and if you were to go backstage somewhere in the back of the stage, you'll find a picture of Sri Ramakrishna, because one of his big disciples, Girish Ghosh, a famous playwright, was a very close disciple of Ramakrishna's, and invited Ramakrishna often to go to the theater, which is a very unusual thing for a sadhu to do. And so I use that excuse to be before you tonight, about to watch a dance performance. One of the beautiful things mirrored in the arts, as well as in spiritual life, is this idea of finding freedom within limitation and restriction. One of the things you find in almost all the Indian arts in particular is such a high level of discipline and rules and regulations and sequences on exactly how things are to be done. And Indian artists spend an entire lifetime of mastering all of those limitations and restrictions in order to use those limitations and restrictions to express a freedom, kind of an ending in moksha or liberation. And spiritual life is like that for us as well. Vivekananda says that really all we are is a bundle of restrictions and limitations. We have a body with arms that are only this long. We have a mind that's only this big. We only have two eyes on one side of our body. So you have all of these restrictions and limitations that you have to work with: your gender, your age, your education, your financial background, your family life, all of those things. And within that sense of restriction, all of us are pushing against their boundaries, trying to express an infinite freedom, an infinite love. We have those relationships with our boyfriends and our girlfriends, or our husbands and our wives, or just our own family, as it may be. And in those relationships, we're always trying to find that ideal. We want that highest love. We want that Disney love, between the magical Prince Charming and his, Snow White. So we're always pushing against those limits and trying to define that infinity that we somehow know exists in ourselves. It's an odd thing, because in this world, we have no examples of infinity. Everything is limited. The best we can do is think of something really big. But somehow we came up with this idea, or we have this notion of infinity, of eternity, things that are never born and never die. Given the limits of the mind, that doesn't make sense, because the mind can only regurgitate ideas that it's taken in through the senses, or that it's read from someone else. So these ideas of infinity, these ideas of eternity, are something that we inherently bring into the picture ourselves We know them not because of the physical world that we live in, because there's no examples of them anywhere. We know them because we have this intuitive suspicion about them, this notion of infinity, this notion of eternity. And so we spend our lives pushing through the senses, trying to recreate that notion, trying to come up with an infinite amount of power, or an infinite amount of money, or an infinite amount of pleasure, or an infinite amount of love. And that's one of the big frustrations in life, is that you can't find it through the senses. You know, that no matter where you go, the blankets are always 6 inches too short. You can gather as many as you want, but when you pull them up, your feet are exposed. And that's the nature of this world. And tonight when we watch the dancers dance, I don't know, I was told in Odissi dancing that usually the final is about moksha. It's about that liberation, about that freedom. And so you'll find the dancers tonight using a very restricted, very disciplined, very calculated form of dance to express an eternal and infinite ideal. So we'll watch that develop as it goes along. The master says, Ramakrishna said to an actor one time, he says, "Your acting was very good in that play tonight. If a person excels in singing or music, dancing, or any other form of art, he can also quickly realize God, provided he strives sincerely. Just as you practice much in order to sing or to dance and to play on instruments, so one should practice the art of fixing the mind on God. One should practice regularly such disciplines as worship, japa, and meditation." He says that he's just pointing out that the same set of tools that can help us, a sadhu or a spiritual person, a spiritual seeker, reach God, are the same tools that actually bring about success in anything in the world. His main disciple, Swami Vivekananda, said that the ability to focus the mind, the ability to concentration, is the key to having anything that you want in this world. That if you can just bring your mind to focus on the subject at hand, bring yourself into the present moment in the way the Buddhists like to speak about it, you will find that that can give you the tools through which you can accomplish anything you want in this world. And the master is saying, any time that you see a particularly beautiful musician or artist or play, he says that God is there. God is manifested in that perfection, in that excellence. So any time you see excellence in anything in the world, there is no secular in this world, in the world that Ramakrishna inhabited. There was no place where God was not. And so his practice was about opening his eyes and seeing that divinity everywhere, celebrating that divinity everywhere. And it wasn't, Vivekananda said that when he was a young man, he would see a prostitute and he would cross the street and walk on the other side. And he said, but when he had reached his pinnacle of his understanding of real spirituality, he said that now he could share a room with one and find no disturbance in that at all. And so it's that beautiful unity of understanding, that beautiful vision that is behind all of these arts and all of these forms that will teach us to see in each other that divine quality, that divine love. It's a notion that's not unique actually to Hinduism. It's in every religion. In the Christian religion, the idea of being created in the image of God. And we know in the book of 1 John that the image of God is love. So all of us are manifestations of love. And our only endeavor is not to find God. That's why they talk in terms of realization. We don't have to build anything, or we don't have to accumulate anything. It's a matter of uncovering this notion of being limited, this notion of being small, to escape from that, so that every act that we do can be an act of pure love, so that soul that we are, that representation of pure love that we are, can manifest without any refraction of a mind that thinks it's small, of a mind that thinks it's a body, so that we can be free in that way. This notion of God is often a very touchy subject, especially these days. People don't like that idea. But God, and we're having a youth camp out at our facility in Silver Spring this week. And we had a conversation in the afternoon, kind of a group conversation with the young guys, and the topic was, does God exist? And, that really is up to the individual. I mean, even Swami Vivekananda went through a period of atheism. And his teacher, Ramakrishna, who, was the farthest thing from an atheist you could find, Had no problem with that, made no requirements of him. That was not an important thing. To him, he understood and saw the sincerity and the earnestness in Vivekananda's efforts to find the truth and to see the truth. And he said, that's perfectly allowable. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a period of life that Vivekananda went through. And so the kids asked, have you ever seen God? Have you seen God? And I said, well, it depends on what you're talking about when you say that. I would ask you, have I ever seen anything but God? God is what beats the heart, and God is what fills the lungs, and God is what speaks to me when I talk to anybody else in the room. God is the one that puts the thoughts in the head that I listen to, that I hear. I'm just that witness, that eternal soul who's listening to what goes in the ears and listening to what's coming through the eyes and what's listening to what's going through the mind. That I'm free. I'm not caught by any of those things. I'm merely watching this play of the divine happen and dance in front of us. Art is one of those things that's very rare in this world in the sense that it's one of the purest forms. It exists really for its own sake, right? It doesn't really have a purpose as such, at least separate from what the artist is pursuing or what the artist is intending. And you'll find, if you go through, like right next door here at the Phillips collection, which I did not know that you were neighbors. I've been down there 3 or 4 times this year and never realized the Indian Embassy was right around the corner. But you'll find over there, if you go and look at Rothko's work, some of the most beautiful things that he was trying to achieve, that he was trying to break away this idea of form, this idea of restriction. He was trying to have an illusion of form, but when you look closely at where his colors begin and end, you can see that there really isn't a square there. It's a gradual moving from one color to the next, He said he wasn't interested in the aesthetics at all. He was interested in providing a portal to the infinite. I read that, I was really taken aback by it, which is why I became very interested in this idea of art and the spiritual. Because I grew up in a fundamentalist Christian family, and art was always considered a bad thing, or an indulgent or sensual thing. And so I didn't get into it. My idea of modern art was, that's a taboo. And when I jumped into it and began to actually read the intentions of these artists in what they're trying to do, I found such a brotherhood in that. It was like, that's beautiful. What a wonderful engagement, to find out. I looked even more and saw that at the turn of the century, when the camera was introduced, that art went through a big dilemma, because up until that point, painting was more about portraiture and record keeping, a matter of keeping history. And when the camera came along, they were going to throw all that out. They thought there was no need for painting anymore. It was actually in the Paris newspaper, it was printed that painting is dead, art is dead, And so you find from that point on is when art became very interesting, because you have Mondrian that goes back. All of them kind of took painting to its fundamentals to find out what is it, what is painting? If it's not record keeping, if it's not portraiture, if it's not mirroring reality, what is it? And so each of them in their own different way kind of attacks it. Mondrian went to the fundamentals, took the 3 primary colors and right angles and black lines on a white background. That was his fundamental. And he tried and experimented. This is what it is. And he also says, Mondrian's art was intimately related to his spiritual and philosophical studies. In 1908, he became interested in the Theosophical movement, launched by Helena Blavatsky. But he says Mondrian's work for the rest of his life was inspired by his search for that spiritual knowledge. He says, I construct lines and color combinations on a flat surface in order to express general beauty with the utmost of awareness, the utmost of attention. So it was, again, taking a spiritual ideal, that ability to focus, that ability to see, and moving it forward. We have Yves Klein, when he was he's the one that just painted a big blue canvas. You can see it in the MoMA in New York. And it's one of, it's one of those pieces of art that if you don't know what it is, you look at it, you're like, what's this? Why is this? I can do this. But he was the first to do it. Can you imagine just painting a canvas blue and taking it? I mean, I don't take any of my drawings down to the gallery to sell it. But if I painted a canvas a single color, it certainly would not even occur to me to take that down to the gallery. But he did. He painted that single color, invented his own color, actually, as an experiment. Came up with Klein blue. and painted that canvas, the very deep and very rich and very beautiful color, and presented that as art. So we have him going along those lines. Then we have the artists who are going along and looking for found art, coming up with Marcel Duchamp when his famous one, he took a urinal, just a urinal, set it on a pedestal, said this is art, and turned the art world upside down, because he wanted us to recognize that a designer, even though it's such a mundane, abused piece of work, was actually a piece of art, that somebody put effort of design into that, somebody put effort of thought into that, a lot of workmanship and a lot of skill into that. And he said that's art. That's art. And that's the practice of spiritual life. It's to walk away and find the mundane and open it and understand, no, it's mystery. It's beautiful. All of this is an expression of the divine. Somewhere in everything that we see, as mundane and everyday as it is beautiful, and will lead you to that freedom of experience, to let go of your daily assumptions and to understand that you know nothing and you've assumed everything. So art is about opening the mind, about reinvestigating what you think you know, and finding comfort in the fact that we may never know, but to understand that this world is infinite and beautiful, and the God that we see in each other is the same God that's mirrored in all of the art that we see, in all the beauty that we see. So tonight, that's what we're going to be looking for. That's what we'll see in this beautiful dance. And I'll leave you with that. Now I have room for 2 questions. Yes.
Hi, my name is Rena, and I'm from the Hindu American Foundation. And my question to you is, not everyone might be an artist or consider themselves an artist, so how do they experience the bliss of art in their everyday life?
Yes. Well, again, we come up against these ideas of definitions. You're an artist if you wake up in the morning and say, today is my work of art. Your life is your painting. One of the examples that I use quite a bit when I give lectures, which is a funny thing in itself, but is this idea that we're all artists and our life is our canvas, and we often mistake the canvas as the point, and when we do that, then all of the judgments kind of shut us down, that we want to make it good, want to make it worthwhile, all of those things, and that doesn't allow us to be an artist. But the fact is, this life is the canvas, and that's not the point. You are the artist, and your expression of life is your point. So it's just a matter of awareness. The only problem that this world comes, if you want to set up a dichotomy where there's like a good and an evil, which is not necessary in Vedanta, we have helpful and unhelpful, which is kind of more of a way of looking at it. But if you want that kind of dichotomy, you could say that the only tool or the only weapon that this world has is forgetfulness. And that forgetfulness is, again, those assumptions that you make. If you talk to a 5-year-old child, Louis C.K. does a very funny comedy. I encourage you to look for it on YouTube because it is great, about his 5-year-old who, why, Daddy? Why? And he says, it gets existential really quickly. After the third why, you're wondering if you know anything, And the funny thing is that we grew up with parents that could answer 2, 3, or 4 times, and then after that they would say, shut up, go to your room, go do this, go do that. And so we learned very quickly not to investigate beyond a certain level. Go 3 whys deep and stop there and be happy with where you are. And we live that way, and that's what makes us forget that we're artists. Stop living that way. Always ask why, always investigate. Every moment is new. Sri Nisargadatta is a sage that made cigarettes in Bombay. I love that. And he still made cigarettes even after he had his realization. And one of the things he said is that every moment is new, and that this moment has no connection to the previous moment. It's your mind alone that draws a line and creates a story connecting those moments. So be fully present. In the Old Testament, when God is asked, when he sends Moses to talk to the Pharaoh about letting all the Egyptians, or letting all the Israelites escape from their bondage there, Moses says, well, that's great, God, but who am I going to say sent me? And God says, say, I am sent you. Because God is, according to Sreyashi Dey also a Hindu, God is this present moment. This moment has always been and will always be. There is no past, there is no present, there's only now. And so that's it. Be an artist in the now. Learn to use the moment. Create something special and hand it to the person next to you. And make a life of that. Yes, sir.
I was really like and my, not a question, it's just I want to have your thought for the exfinity is the limitation, or it is a end point to achieve something, like art of painters. You said about the blue painting.
Uh-huh.
So, but that creation is the supreme satisfaction or pleasure or achievement for them, or there is something more beyond that?
Yes, wonderful question. You know that there's a gradient that goes from body to soul or to infinity, and depending on where you are on that stretch of gradient, determines how many people are benefited by your act of love. You know, so down on this end we'll have somebody like a Hitler who definitely everything he did came from a motive of love, but his ideal was very physical, very much believed himself to be a body, believed himself to be a particular race. His ideal was expressed in measurements and hair colors, eye colors, and whatnots. So his act of love benefited a very small number of people and harmed a huge number of people. And then at the other end of the spectrum, we have those souls who knew they were souls, who knew they were infinite, the Jesuses, the Buddhas, you know, who had an idea of their nature. And their act of love is still being talked about thousands of years after their existence. And so, again, that is for each one of us. You know, and it doesn't have much to do with our conscious mind. We're only living in the top 2 inches, maybe, of something very, very deep. But where you are on that scale determines the satisfaction of your art, really. You know?
Thank you.
Sure.
Namaskar and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We present to you Ananta, the infinite. I speak today of a time and a space beyond imagination. It is an enigma from before time existed and space came into being. So what existed then? The wise seers of our ancient land tell us that there existed nothing. But how can that be? How can nothingness have an existence? I take you with me to the depths of that magical, mysterious nothingness. I narrate the tale of the wondrous creation of this universe of ours. Have you heard Kalidasa's benediction from long ago? A hymn to the manifestations of the magnificent creation in water, fire, the priest, the sun and the moon, space, earth, and air. Do you see the creation reflected in the 5 elements of earth, water, fire, wind, and space, the Pancha Mahabhuta? On earth, we plant seeds, grow our grains, and harvest. On earth, we dance, sing, and celebrate the cycle of life. On earth, we rest and rejuvenate. Water, the giver of life. The waters of the sky and the waters that flow. Waters that are dug out of the earth. The waters that spring from the earth on their own. The pure and clear waters that merge with the ocean. Let these waters bless us here and now. O fire, you are born with your lights, flaming out on us in your effulgence. You are born from the waters and around the stone. You are born from the forests and born from the plants of the earth. You are pure in your birth, O Master of man and his race. Do you feel its pulsating rhythm of the cosmos? Shiva, the ascetic. Shiva, the destroyer. Shiva, the cosmic dancer. Shiva, holding fire and his damaru in his hands and encircled by serpents. The glorious cosmic dance of Shiva, dissolving the earth, water, fire, wind, and space, the dance that destroys so that creation may renew yet again. Shiva's eternal fire burns. In the silence of the dark night, do you hear the universe breathing? This ancient breathing in and out of prana within the mother's womb. Do you hear the magic of wind playing magical notes through the bamboo flute? This body, the five senses, the sun and the moon, and the planets in their orbits, the oceans and the forest fires, the strains of the flute and the spring breeze. Many through the ages have asked, what is their destination? The answer is in the depths of the meditating mind. All beings originate from the space and finally return onto the space. The body withers away in fierce beauty. The mind evaporates in space, leaving but a faint memory. Yet, the one that gave birth to it all waits in patient silence. The universe that emerged from the imperishable being merges back in it. Ladies and gentlemen, now we present Ananta, the Infinite.
शर्मन्नम्भ किमासीर्गहनं गभीरम् न मृत्युरासीदमृतं न तर्हि न रात्र्यावह्नवासीत् प्रकेतः आनीदवातं स्वधया तदेकं तस्माद्धान्नन्न परः किंश्चनास तमासीत् तमसा गूढमग्रे प्रकेतं सलिलं सर्वमायिदम् तुच्छेनाभ्यपिहितं यदासीत् तपसस्तन्महिना जायतैकम् ॐ या सृष्टिः स्रष्टुराद्या वहति विधिहुतं या हविर्या च होत्री ये द्वे कालं विधत्तः श्रुतिविषयगुणा या स्थिता व्याप्य विश्वम् यस्यां समुद्र उत सिन्धुरापो यस्यामन्नं कृष्टयः सम्बभूः यस्यामिदं जिन्वति प्राणलेजत् सा नो भूमिः पूर्वपे दधातु विश्वम्भरा वसुधानि प्रतिष्ठा हिरण्यवक्षा जगतो निवेशनी वैश्वानरं बिभ्रति भूमिरग्निम् इन्द्रऋषभा द्रविणेनो दधातु गिरयस्ते पर्वता हिमवतो अरण्यं ते पृथिवीस्यो नमस्तु बभ्रुं कृष्णां रोहिणीं विश्वरूपां ध्रुवां भूमिं पृथिवीमिन्द्रगुप्ताम् अजितो अहतो अक्षतो अध्यष्ठा पृथिवीमहम् अजितो अहतो अक्षतो अध्यष्ठा दिव्या त्वमग्ने द्युभिः त्वम् आशु शुक्षणी त्वमग्ने द्युभिः त्वम् आशु शुक्षणी त्वमद्भ्यः त्वमश्मना त्वं वनेभ्यः त्वमोषधीभ्यः त्वं वनेभ्यः त्वमोषधीभ्यः त्वं नृणां नृपते शुचि जायसे शुचि अस्य लोकस्य का गतिरिति आकाश इति। इमानि भूतान्याकाशादेव समुत्पद्यन्त। आकाशं प्रत्यस्तं यन्ति। आकाशो ह्यैवेभ्यो जायान्। आकाशः परायणम्। अग्निर्मे वाजिश्रितः वाग्हृदये हृदयं मयि अहममृते अमृतं ब्रह्मणि वायुर्मे प्राणे श्रितः प्राणो हृदये हृदयं मयि अहममृते अमृतं ब्रह्मणि सूर्यो मे चक्षुषे श्रितः चक्षुर्हृदये हृदयं मयि अहममृते अमृतं ब्रह्मणि चन्द्रमा मे मनसि श्रितः मनो हृदये हृदयं मयि अहममृते अमृतं ब्रह्मणि दिशो मे श्रोत्रे श्रिताः श्रोत्रं हृदये हृदयं मयि हृदयं मयि अहममृते अमृतं ब्रह्मणि आपो मे रेतसि श्रिता रेतो हृदये हृदयं मयि अहममृते अमृतं ब्रह्मणि पृथिवी मे शरीरे श्रिता शरीरं हृदये हृदयं मयि अहममृते अमृतं ब्रह्मणि
That was an exhilarating performance. श्रद्धेय स्वामी चिदब्रह्मानंद के प्रति आभार अभिव्यक्ति तथा कलाकारों के अभिनंदन के लिए मैं प्रथम सचिव श्री सतीश जीवन जी को पुनः आमंत्रित करता हूं कि वे आएं और हम सबकी ओर से उन्हें फूलों का गुलदस्ता भेंट करें। As a gesture of congratulating and felicitating the performers and their musicians, I invite First Secretary Satish Sivan to present them with flower bouquet on behalf of all of us. The first bouquet for Swami Chidbrahmananda ji. Sreyashi Dey. Supradipta Datta. Ananyakar. बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया आज के कार्यक्रम के लिए, राजदूतावास में आने के लिए तथा आपके द्वारा कलाकारों को दिए गए प्रोत्साहन के लिए हम आप सब के आभारी हैं। आशा है राजदूतावास में होने वाले अगले कार्यक्रम में आपसे फिर भेंट होगी। हमारी ओर से आप सबको प्यार भरा नमस्कार और शुभ रात्रि। अब अंग्रेजी में भी बोलना ज़रूरी है। तो we thank you all for coming to this evening's program. I'm sure you found it very exciting and entertaining. To this evening's program, and for all your applause and appreciation, we look forward to seeing you again at another embassy event. Thank you, Shabba Khair, and good night.